The slap echoed through the cold morning air, sharp and humiliating. The homeless man stumbled backward, clutching his cheek, his tin cup scattering coins across the concrete. Officer Reynolds stood over him, his uniform gleaming, his voice cold as steel. "Next time I tell you to move, you move," he barked. And just a few feet away, leaning against a roaring black Harley, sat Mason, a biker known more for his silence than his words. His leather jacket creaked as he straightened, his jaw tightening as he watched the scene unfold. "Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're re-watching from. I love knowing who is listening." The street had gone still. A woman clutching her groceries froze mid-step. A bus driver peered through the window, hesitating to honk. No one spoke. No one dared. Except Mason. He took off his helmet slowly, revealing eyes that burned with quiet anger. "Hey," he called out, his voice calm but carrying a weight that silenced even the hum of the traffic lights. "You proud of that, officer?" Reynolds turned, his face flushing red. "Mind your business, biker. This man was loitering." Mason's gaze shifted to the homeless man, frail, trembling, his beard matted, his eyes glassy with shame. He couldn't have been older than 60. "You call that loitering," Mason said. "Looks to me like a man trying to survive." The officer squared his shoulders. "Back off, or I'll have you in cuffs too." But Mason didn't flinch. He walked closer, the low hum of his boots on concrete echoing louder than any siren. "Go ahead," he said softly. "But while you're at it, maybe arrest yourself for forgetting what that badge stands for." People were recording now. Phones appeared like silent witnesses, their lenses reflecting the tense morning light. The homeless man, whose name was later revealed to be Walter, whispered hoarsely, "Please, just let it go." But Mason shook his head. "No, sir, not this time." He turned to the small crowd. "How long do we keep watching before someone stands up?" His words hung in the air like thunder before rain. Reynolds barked, "That's enough," and reached for Mason's arm, but before he could grab him, the radio on his shoulder crackled to life. "Unit 23, report immediately. We've received a complaint about officer misconduct on Main Street. Cameras are on you." Reynolds froze. The color drained from his face. He looked around and saw half the street filming. Mason didn't move. He just stood there, silent, letting truth do what fists could not. Minutes later, 2 squad cars arrived. The sergeant stepped out, his expression unreadable. "Reynolds, inside the car," he ordered quietly. "Now." The officer obeyed without a word. The crowd exhaled. A ripple of disbelief, murmurs rising like wind through dry leaves. Walter blinked in confusion, his lip trembling. Mason crouched beside him. "You okay, old man?" he asked gently. Walter nodded weakly. Why did you risk that for me?" Mason smiled faintly. "Because once I was the man on the ground." And as those words left his mouth, the world seemed to pause. Years ago, before the tattoos and the bike, Mason had worn a different uniform, one with a badge just like Reynolds. He'd quit after witnessing too much cruelty and too little conscience. "The day I stopped standing up," he had told himself, "is the day I stop being human." He reached into his jacket and handed Walter a small folded envelope. Inside were a few bills, not much but enough for a meal and a clean shirt. "Start here," Mason said. "The rest will come." By now the sergeant approached them. "Mr. Mason," he said softly, "I saw the footage. You did the right thing." He extended a hand, but Mason only nodded, mounting his Harley. As the engine rumbled to life, the sergeant added, "You may have just saved that man, and reminded my department what justice looks like." The crowd clapped, not wildly, but with the quiet strength of people witnessing something rare. Walter looked around, tears filling his eyes. For the first time in years, people weren't looking through him. They were looking at him, Mason revved his bike once, then looked back. "You take care, Walter, and don't let this world tell you you're worth again." With that, he rode off into the distance, his black jacket catching the morning light like a shadow carrying truth. That day, the video went viral. Within hours, millions watched the clip titled, "Biker Stands Up to Cop, Changes Everything." The police department issued an apology, and a new initiative was started, Project Restore, to support homeless rehabilitation through community partnerships. And Walter, he became its first volunteer. Every morning, he stood at the same street corner, not begging, but helping others like him find a place to start again. Because kindness doesn't vanish, it waits and it finds its way back. Even in the roar of engines and the silence of fear, justice can speak softly and still shake the world. If this story moved you, share it with someone who believes in doing what goes right, even when it is hard. And don't forget to subscribe to Whispered Words for more stories that remind us. Courage doesn't always wear a badge. Sometimes it rides a bike.